Hello everyone, this is Pro Motors. I'm launching a new series about repairing this engine, about repairing this gearbox. A subscriber came to me for repairs. This is the car. As you can see, it's an old Volvo from the 90s. My task is to repair the engine and repair the gearbox. Right now, I'm starting by removing the gearbox. I've already disconnected the air hoses here. There's a whole bundle going to the gearbox, to the gear shifter. Basically, the bundle goes there. I've disconnected the air hoses and now I'm removing the gearbox here at Karoku. So we're taking the engine to the table and starting to disassemble it. We've already removed the oil pan from the engine. If you look, the engine is standing without the oil pan, like this. The oil pan is made of very thin sheet metal. For example, the Zawody Mini Likachowa oil pan or GSE50 Trim Z511 use the same thin sheet metal. You can't set it down without it bending. On the spot we remove the oil pan and the pickups. And here we just laid out whatever we could find in a hurry. Some pieces of wood, some plastic bottles, and basically we laid it all out and brought it to the shop like this. The engine model and technical specs will now appear on the screen. Later we'll repair this gearbox too. That's our scope of work. Let's start. I've removed the fan and now I need to take off the gear selector, the shift lever. To do that I need to free up these air hoses, this bundle of hoses that goes to the gearbox. Here I've removed the air supply to the compressor, or rather the air outlet from the compressor. We can see that there's a separate air filter going to the compressor, and this is how it's installed. Now, I'm removing the coolant hose, and I'm also taking off this air supply hose. I'm pulling that bundle of air hoses out to the side and removing the gear shift lever. Honestly, here are my initial thoughts. Well, they did offer MAN, S and Mercedes for repair. Just take a MAN or a Mercedes and do everything the usual way. No, we had to take a Volvo. The subscribers are waiting for variety on the channel. They write, when will there be a Volvo? When will you take some other engine? We're already tired of these MANs and Mercedes. Well, here you go, MAN, Mercedes. I don't think there will be any effect for the channel. More or less, it's all the same. I'm not sure why I took it. So next I need to remove the exhaust manifold and the coolant manifold. I look at all this and I get upset. So there are 4 bolts on the exhaust manifold and the 4 bolts are positioned in such a way that you can only reach some of them with an open-end wrench. I've never seen an engine done this way. Next the manifold is removed. First unscrew and remove 4 bolts from the cylinder, then 2 more, another 2 and finally 1. So we see that you can reach this bolt with a wrench, but for these 2 bolts it's not clear at all. Right here under the manifold, somewhere around this spot, there's a bolt. I have no idea how you could possibly unscrew it. This is just a complete mess. Plus, I can't remove the coolant manifold right now because I can't reach all the bolts. I've never worked on a Volvo before and probably won't again, but actually I will. After this engine I have 1 more engine to do. Another Volvo is coming, the down payment has already been made. But I'll finish this engine, then the next one and that's it. I won't take any more Volvos. The bolt is installed, but it's impossible to get it out from here. How was it installed? Apparently, I need to knock out this spacer, this washer, and then it will come out. Understood, I won't record everything. I'll restart the camera in about an hour. For now, I'll unscrew these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 bolts, 9. That will take about an hour. I used to think the D245 was impossible. No engine could compare to it. Turns out there are even bigger screw-ups out there. So it's all good. The D245 is actually a pretty decent engine after all. Okay, grab the wrench and start working.
messed up. We could have come up with something like this.
Honestly, when it comes to removing the manifold, in terms of time, effort, and inconvenience, I don't even know what to compare it to. Alright, stop whining. Yeah, and I hope Volvo owners will forgive me. But everything here is just so poorly thought out, so primitive, to be honest. I don't know, it reminds me of the D245, it reminds me of the Kamama Z740. That's how it is. There are little tubes, inserts, gaskets, bolts, and clamps everywhere. You definitely won't find this in Mans or Mercedes. In Mans and Mercedes, everything is completely different. I mean, every little detail is thought out there. Here, everything is done as it turned out, so to speak. For example, take the heat exchanger. I honestly don't even know what to call it. There's just some separate thing. Some tubes, some hoses, clamps everywhere. All sorts of mounts, all sorts of brackets everywhere. You could go on listing all this forever. For example, try removing the compressor. Some mounts can only be unscrewed with an open-end wrench. Using a box-end wrench will just strip them the first time you can get it on. Now it doesn't fit anymore. That's it. Not to mention a socket or an impact gun and so on. So only an open-end wrench will work. These kinds of things, these little details, they're everywhere. That's it. The nut won't unscrew further. It hasn't left the stud or thread yet, but it's now touching the housing. Here's another example right away. To take it off the studs, you have to pull it this way. Here's one fitting, here's the second fitting, and there's a hose between them. The total length of the hose is literally 10 centimeters, and the free space between the fittings is 5 centimeters. So you have to pull the hose out here, and you have to pull the compressor out here. That's it. It's a hopeless situation. Either you have to yank the hose out with a pry bar now, or maybe even cut it. Who knows, this actually refers to a Ulyanovsky Автомобильный Завод engine. There you also need to remove similar covers to access the push rods. I think there are one or two, but I don't recall exactly. And the push rods are about the same as on a Ulyanovsky Автомобильный Завод, just bigger. What can I say? I've opened up the cylinder heads. Here are my first visual impressions. There's wear on the cylinder liners. The wear is significant. The liners definitely need to be replaced. Like I said, the wear is significant, but it's even. So there aren't any deep scratches or anything like that. Regarding the engine block, I'm not sure. It needs cleaning and inspection. I don't expect any issues. At least at first glance, everything looks pretty good. So what do I do next? I need to remove the pulley and take off the alternator. Not sure. Maybe I'll try to turn the engine over now. It's awkward there. I couldn't turn it or install it when it was assembled. Alright, I'll give it a try now. And I also need to remove the fuel pump, take it out, and check the timing marks to see how the ignition is set. I'm taking off the pump, the alternator, the power steering pump, and the front cover. Then, we'll check the timing marks on the timing mechanism. Next, we'll lay the engine on its side and start taking out the pistons, crankshaft, and so on. Next, I'm removing the fuel pump and I've set the timing marks. So, on the pump itself, there's a plate with a mark, a stripe, and there's also a plate on the coupling on the drive itself. You can see I've aligned them here, and I've opened the inspection window on the flywheel cover, and here we have about 24, 25, somewhere in that range, maybe 26. It's hard to see clearly. The customer said he set the ignition earlier. Ideally, this engine should have 19 degrees, but the customer has it set to about 25, so that's 6 degrees earlier. I don't know. Of course, we'll see during assembly, and we'll send the fuel pump for inspection. If this fixed mark here hasn't been knocked out of place, meaning it's set correctly, then we'll probably set it not at 25, but maybe a couple of degrees earlier than 19, 21. I think somewhere in that range, but that's just my thoughts for now. Of course, we'll see how things go as we move forward. Alright, I've lined up the marks. Now I'll remove the pump. Let me check which bolts to unscrew, these ones or those. We'll see which is better, and also the pump mount. These 4 bolts here. So, this is our oil drain, right? The drain, I guess. There should be an oil supply somewhere too. Yeah, here it is. Probably the oil supply under pressure, and this is the oil drain. Everything here, including the flywheel covers, is covered in oil. Under the oil seal, it even appears dry. For some reason, there's oil right under the flywheel in here, like under the dust cover. Oil is coming out from under the dust cover. In general, it's still unclear exactly where the oil is coming from. Right here, it looks like it's running down along the bolts, or maybe it's being splattered. Well, of course, the seal will be here again. Maybe somewhere behind the dust cover there's some kind of gasket. Maybe the oil is leaking from under it. Alright, we'll keep an eye on all of this and pay attention to it. So it means we still need to remove this hub. You see, this is the crankshaft itself. The end of it has this kind of profile, kind of triangular. So it turns out I need to use a puller now, hook onto the thread or something, and only then will this cover come off. We can see there are a bunch of gears here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then here 8, 9, 10 gears in total. This is the crankshaft and this is the camshaft. This is an intermediate gear. This is the fuel pump drive. This is another intermediate gear. This is the water pump drive. This is the power steering drive, and this is the compressor drive. Here we have another intermediate gear and the oil pump drive. I'm wiping everything down, setting the marks and checking the timing mechanism. Well, here it's probably just like on the D245, like on D0826. The intermediate gear won't line up with the marks right now. You have to turn it a lot for the marks to match up. Well, let's take a look for now. Maybe we'll take it off and reposition it. So, we're only interested in 3 gears. The crankshaft, the camshaft, the fuel pump, plus this intermediate one, well 4. All the others are installed without marks. Well, basically, we can see that here's the crankshaft mark, here's the camshaft mark, and here's the fuel pump mark. And here we have a mismatch. This one is for the fuel pump, and these two should be here. Well, basically everything is clear. We don't even need to display it. Basically everything is already clear, understandable. Did anyone else notice how I'm struggling with these bolts? So, on this engine, we don't use the metric system, but the imperial system. That means all the bolt heads and nuts here are in inches, and all the threads are also in inches. I don't have an imperial set because I've never worked on engines like this before. This is actually my first engine of this kind. That's why I'm working with metric sockets. So this is how it should be. We can see the crankshaft is aligned, the camshaft is aligned, and the fuel timing as well. What do I want to say about the gear right away? Inside here we have this kind of bushing, and we can see that it's starting to crumble. So I don't know if this bushing can be replaced, or if the whole gear needs to be replaced as an assembly. So we already have this kind of problem. Well, the axle is in good condition. So this is our camshaft thrust washer. As we can see, there's wear on this side. I don't know if we can try to grind it or maybe replace it. The wear is pretty significant. Alright, now I can take out the camshaft, but first I need to remove the lifters. I'll remove the lifters, then the camshaft. I'm taking off this front cover. I'm not touching these gears. Let them stay on for now. And then I remove the cover, lay the block on its side and take out the pistons. So the lifter is this kind of cup. Like I said, it's like the GA Z53. Same as 511, just a bit bigger in size. Obviously, the lifter is worn out, so the lifters will need to be replaced. So, as we can see, for example, on the first cylinder, the lifter is really badly crumbled. Usually, if the lifter is in this condition, the camshaft journal is also damaged. The camshaft lobe basically turns into an abrasive, and this abrasive wears it down. Alright, now let's take out the camshaft. The camshaft lobes are visibly worn. The question is how much. We'll take measurements to see how much they differ from the standard. So the insert is actually still in pretty good condition, standard size. The insert that's inside the connecting rod itself is, of course, in worse shape, and as you can see, it's been crushed, so it's loose. There may be issues with the connecting rod. You can see that the rings are really worn out. I'll take one off now and we'll take some measurements. Also, all the pistons are scored, so the piston assembly needs to be replaced with a new one. This is what it looks like. Let's measure the ring right away. The gap is about 3 to 4 millimeters. That is, it's a lot, 10 times more than normal. The main bearings are also in a satisfactory condition, let's put it that way. But you can also see that they're not holding up well. That is, it was also crushed. And I also don't like this shine on the cap itself. Maybe... Alright, let's take it apart and see. So we can see on the second cylinder the sleeve was removed. They smeared some sealant here, and basically the rubber ended up with these kinds of folds from the sealant. So the engine is disassembled. Let's sum up the preliminary results, starting with the camshaft. We'll check the camshaft bushings. The customer reports good oil pressure. I'll clean it and inspect, so I can't say about the bushings yet. As for the camshaft, some lobes, specifically the exhaust ones, are worn down. I took measurements and it turns out this one is our worst lobe, and this one, you could say, is in perfect condition. The difference in height is about 0.6 millimeters. Well, I don't know, we'll still have to see about that. First, we'll check the price of a new camshaft, then see if these parts, including the camshaft, are available. It will also depend on the customer's wishes. If he says he needs a new camshaft, then we'll order and install it. If he says no, we can leave this one, since the car isn't new. How much longer will it last? 3, 4, 5, 6 years? For that period, I think this camshaft will be enough. As for the crankshaft, most likely we won't do anything with it either. I took a preliminary look at it. There's a bit of wear here, some scratches. But I think it's better to leave it as is. For example, you can see it clearly here. I think it's better to have a little bit of wear. Let it be slightly undersized rather than grinding it down to a repair size. Well, that's my opinion. And I've assembled and installed parts like this many times before, with -600s, -5, 6, 7. In general, everything works fine. After grinding, first of all, it's very difficult to grind. You have to maintain all these dimensions and make this fillet. And ground crankshafts tend to break more often. So I think we'll leave the crankshaft and camshaft as they are. About the piston group definitely needs to be replaced. That's 100%. There are these kinds of scuffs on the pistons. Here are scuffs, here are scratches, and so on. So the pistons, ring sleeves, all of that needs to be replaced. The piston assembly as a whole. And Of course, the seals and the piston pin are also included in the kit, so all of that will be replaced. I can't say anything about the engine block yet. The block needs to be cleaned first and measured. There are some concerns about the crankshaft beds, but like I said, we'll clean it and take a look. It's possible that the block will need machining, but that's not certain yet. We'll also check the mating surface of the cylinder head and the seats for the liners after cleaning and washing. The decision on that will be made later. We'll disassemble the heads and inspect the condition of the seats, valves and guides. It's possible that the heads will go to the surface grinder. There's a particular feature here. This flange that sits on the liner, we'll see about that. Most likely the heads will go to the surface grinder. The turbocharger and fuel equipment will also be sent for inspection, and after the results we'll decide what to do with them. We'll also take the electrical equipment for inspection, the starter and the alternator. The pump will stay as it is. The customer recently installed a new one. Well, the compressor? Where is our compressor? Anyway, the compressor is somewhere here. We'll repair it, open it up and check it. There's actually a particular thing about the compressor. The cylinders are non-removable. So if there's wear on the cylinder, we'll have to buy a repair piston and bore out the block itself, the housing. But we'll see about that later. We'll get to it. As for the clutch, I don't know yet either. We'll check the clutch too. So now I'm going to make a list, get in touch with the customer, and we'll decide what to do and what not to do. And then I'll clean everything up, send some parts for machining, and take care of some things myself, like disassembling the cylinder heads and so on. And then there will be several episodes about assembling this engine. Also, I might film the engine start on the stand, or maybe the start will be in the car already and there will be painting as well. In general, everything is pretty much as usual. Everything is standard. That's it. I'll wrap up this video here. Thanks everyone for watching. Good luck to everyone and goodbye. Some time has passed. I've already cleaned the engine block, and what can I say? The block will definitely go for machining, fovku, meaning the cylinder head mating surface definitely needs to be resurfaced. We can see these kinds of pits, these holes. Also, the seats for the cylinder liners definitely need to be machined. That's 100%. The crankshaft seats and main bearings are still in question. Everything will be done on the machine, and the machinist will take measurements. Then it will be clear. But I think we'll also need to machine the bearing seats. I've already prepared the block, washed it, cleaned it with a wire brush in diesel fuel in a jet washer, then cleaned it with a wire brush and blew it out. The block is fully prepared for machining and will likely be sent out in the next few days, possibly tomorrow or the day after. Well, maybe I'll unscrew the drain tap now. Maybe I'll unscrew this elbow too, so it doesn't get broken. And basically, that's probably it. I also need to prepare the fuel equipment. The pump will be sent for testing. Here we have the injectors. I need to remove this bracket now. Take off the hoses with the filters. Injectors. The generator and starter will also be sent for testing. Everything needs to be cleaned and prepared now. The turbocharger will be sent for testing. We need to remove the oil supply lines. We need to remove the oil supply line, and we need to remove the oil return line. I'll also clean it a bit, at least get rid of the worst dirt. I'll check the radiator to decide if I should remove it. And I also need to prepare the connecting rods for machining. Remove them from the pistons, take out the bearings, clean them, and put the caps back in place. What else do I want to say about this engine? While disassembling it, I noted some bolts were oddly installed and there were unusual constructions, brackets, and adapters. Well, that's all true. Outside, there are mounts, bolts, adapters, rubber parts, and more. That's all true, it's inconvenient. As for the internals, I look at them and see that there's a very large safety margin here. So, you just need to look at the connecting rods and see what diameter we have, or rather how thick the wall is under the piston pin bushing, and the connecting rod bearing width, rod cross section, and similar features. Everything is so robust, more robust than, for example, on Mercedes or MAN. Also, if we look at the piston, look at the length of the skirt. Nowadays, it's probably impossible to find pistons with such a long skirt. And the piston itself is so powerful and massive that that's definitely an advantage of this engine. And everything is robust, everything is built with a margin of safety. The diameter of the connecting rod journals, the diameter of the main journals, and so on. So it turns out that this engine has its own advantages, but it also has its disadvantages.